Hey there, guys. This is your host, Nkem with the Dear Baddest B podcast. I'm actually quaking right now. I feel so nervous. I'm in a studio alone. None of my friends and family know that I'm here. Like, some of them know that I'm going and pursuing podcasting, but none of them know that I'm actually in a studio right now recording my first ever podcast. And I feel like a part of me feels like crying because this year has been raggedy. It's been so up and down that I haven't really, there have been periods of feeling stable, periods of feeling really down. And I've had amazing ups with my nearest and dearest. But overall, I really think that this year has been the year of, I'm not quite Phoenix level yet, but we're in the rebirth element because I had such a bad experience at the beginning of the year that we'll dive into later on that has made me think that it's really just time to pursue something different. And the nursing life is not for me, baby. I wish I had a Prosecco in hand right now. I'm half Italian. Prosecco is what we drink. It's our blood. But the studio doesn't have any food to drink. So we're going to let that go. I really want to dive into first what this episode is going to be about. A little about me, where I am in life. And I really, really hope you enjoy this podcast, that you continue to listen here with me and just enjoy. So today's episode is very much going to be about why I'm starting a podcast. And I also want to do a half-year check-in, almost like a life update. And I'll give you a little bit about me first. My name's Nkem. I am currently 24 years old. I live, born and breathe London. I do love it here. I do sometimes feel like it doesn't have the feeling of home, but I don't know whether that's because of my feelings on the proportion of how much life costs versus your quality of living. But that's something we can talk about a lot later. Let me keep it light. I'm someone who likes to get so intimate so quickly. Look at me diving into life's problems and politics. So a little more about me. I did a nursing degree from which I qualified a couple of years ago. No longer want to do that. Pursuing other doors, trying to open other doors and pursuing other options. I would say that I'm very bubbly. I like to get very intimate very quickly. I thrive on connection. My birthday's in December and I am a Saggy baby. Let's not even go there. Who am I to dismiss the science of those before us? So if you're not into zodiac signs or astrology, you can hit that exit button. No, I'm joking. But, things to consider. Where I'm in life right now, of course, I just mentioned that I don't want to do nursing anymore. And I've already come to terms with that. I think the bit I've not come to terms with is what am I going to do with myself? I really understand, though, that that's not a unique experience. I feel like a lot of people in their 20s are feeling a little bit of that right now. Some of the conversations I've had with my friends is very much that, you go to school, you learn about being a lawyer, a doctor, a DJ, a chef or whatever, and then you get into the real world and it's not quite how people explained it to be. For example, with the nursing, I had a very romanticized idea of nursing, and of course, like, nursing is not romantic. I am a romanticized person anyway. I'm very idealistic and I like to see the positives. But it really just hit me like a freight train that nursing is just not like that. And it's okay. It's absolutely fine. So here we are, opening new doors, exploring, expanding, and trying to figure out what else there is. And we're here doing it in a podcast. And so you can explore that with me and not feel alone. I think this is what I want the podcast to be about. I want to feel connected to people. I want you, if you're listening, to feel connected to me. That's one of my, if I had a manifesto of life, it would be no restriction and ultimate connections, emotional connections. I love that. I love burrowing deep into someone's soul and just having a conversation. All the dark, the beautiful, death, life, despair. Those were really dark and deep. Hold on, let me get light. Bubbly, vibrant, ambitious. There's so much that life has to give. And if this podcast does anything for you, I hope it lets you know that just in the same way the topics are here, nothing is off limits. I'm not off limits. There's no restriction. And yeah. So let's dive into why I am starting a podcast. Now, maybe it's not the best thing to do, but I'm going to start off with some of the things that I think are my cons, like my disadvantages as a person. I have an issue with consistency. I just don't think I'm a consistent person, or at least I'm such a perfectionist that consistency feels so far away because everything has to be amazing all the time. And of course, that's so unrealistic. You cannot be perfect all the time. I had almost like a counselor / mentor when I was in secondary school, because a lot of my home life issues were manifesting and perfectionism had started to come out. And one of the exercises that my mentor had done with me is she said, I want you to drop this tub of pencils on the floor and I want you to pick them up and put them exactly the same way as they fill in. And I know, like, explaining this back to you now, it sounds crazy because of course then that's not going to happen. You can't fit them perfectly. But as a 13, 14-year-old, I had to do that exercise to realize that you can't fix everything. You can't be perfect in everything. And how child development works, at least I've seen in me, is that those things that weren't a problem back then, when you're in school and you have really one target, one goal, like uni, you come out of it and you're fending it for yourself. I have fended for myself. I know what that looks like. But in terms of other life things, I'm not a consistent person. I pick up projects and I go. There's this element of needing to feel fulfilled all the time. So you start new things and it doesn't quite run. And I want to change that with this. I am going to change that with this. You know, not even fingers, toes and pubic hairs crossing, but I am going to change it with this, I swear. This for me is a very ambitious venture. Not because I don't think I can do it, but just sometimes, and this makes me feel emotional, you just don't picture yourself in these places. Like, 13-year-old Nkem would never have thought that she'd be sitting in a studio right now recording her podcast episode. And of course that's realistic. Of course I have the capability to do that. But yeah, this is ambitious for me. And ambitious not just in the sense of actually doing it, but the consistency element. Because I am really nervous that I'm not going to have episodes out every week, you know. I am nervous. You know, I cried down the phone to my partner the other week when this was all happening and I was planning and creating an RSS feed and a podcast cover and a description and a trailer. I cried and I said, what if no one wants to listen to me? What if I'm just sitting in this room, no one clicks on the podcast, no one wants to hear about it, or that I fail in this promise that I've made to myself about being consistent? And he said, well, you're not going to know until you do it. So here I am, baby. I have struggled to find an art for years. And I say art on the definition of what I believe to be quite literally drawing, painting, that side of art. But as I've gotten older and some of the conversations that I've had with my friends, I've come to realize that art is entirely about the connection that you make with people and invoking said emotions. And I'm very pleased to realize that my art is my voice. My creative expression comes from my voice and my opinions. And I'm really glad I figured that out now, which is why for me, a podcast was definitely the route to go down, as well as writing. I thought anything that gets my voice out there is something I can share with people and invoke emotions and create that connection that I do so desperately crave sometimes. You know, we're not diving into that today. You know, parents, relationships, and what do they call it? Psychological development, securement, attachment types. There you go. We're not going to dive into that. But I really struggle to find an art, and I'm pleased to say that my voice is my art. I've tried YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, sort of content creating, and a lot of the problems that I had with YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram were, of course, the consistency, because you can't create engagement and a following without that. And that's my fault. Like, of course, you can't do it without that. But in the beginning, when I had explored those pathways of content creation, I really wanted to share my experiences because I love experiencing new things. But I noticed that when you're so involved in looking at what are the best angles, making sure you get the videos, making sure you get the shots, you are no longer present. And I think that is that idea of not being present, disassociating, is probably my arch nemesis, because then you're no longer experiencing this thing. And my partner for my graduation present bought me a Sony ZV-1 camera. It's one of the best vlogging cameras out there. And on our last holiday in France, when we went to Paris, he said to me, why aren't you using my camera? And I said, do you remember what the last few months have been like, where I've tried to get content and it's created a really uncomfortable space because I'm so focused on doing something else that I'm not here with you? And he was like, yeah, I get that. And I said, I don't want that. Every experience I have, I want to be in it. And in the last few conversations I've had with friends and family about content creation, I think I've realized that I threw myself too much into that, because it doesn't have to be a complete dissociation from the experience I'm having. It can also be just capturing a couple of shots, having a couple of things that I can show to then create content with. So YouTube I really enjoyed because it's long form content, and it's very much like this. You're speaking or hoping to speak to people, and it's sort of a personal journal. So that I really liked. TikTok is short reels. I guess a lot of this is also to do with organization, of which I can be, but it is very much tied into your consistency too. Instagram has been probably one of I really stress about Instagram, about showing your best self, seeing other people who are so successful on it, even though I am the believer of your way, your path, and comparison is the thief of joy. It's still really hard to see people on Instagram grow and thrive and see your stuff not doing the same. Lately, I've taken to Instagram in a very light-hearted way. I'm in a very comfortable place with my body, what I look like, who I am, to the point that a lot of my Instagram content has become so beautifully authentic that I'm even enjoying posting on there. I don't necessarily care about the likes and the comments. It's more that I really enjoy looking at my friends' content on Instagram, what pictures they're showing, what holidays they're going on, what fun are they doing, the sad too. And I thought to myself, I dishonor them when I don't feel the same way about my stuff, because if I love looking at their stuff, I know they love looking at mine. And now that I'm in this place where I'm taking pictures and videos that I'm really loving the look of me in them, and I'm seeing my personality shine, why shouldn't I share that? But in that same breath, it can be really hard when you've got such a focused goal of, I need to grab a picture that here and now in this outfit that is great so that I can post it on Instagram later. That being said, I've pretty much realized that to thrive on content creation, you really have to be organized. And I know that's a silly thing to realize, but revelations don't just hit you out of people telling you about it. It hits you out of nowhere. 1 and 1 is 2, So yeah. Then writing was also a part of course that I wanted to take as something for my creative expression. But the problem with writing that I'm really coming to understand is, for me at least, I can have an idea of a story in my head. Making it actually happen, like getting from scene to scene, is a real ass struggle. And again, consistency. If you're not sitting at the desk writing, scheduling time and organizing time to do this, then when are you going to write? I know these are silly things to realize, but these have been my revelations, and I still want to write the book. I've got like 6 books. That's crazy. I've got 6 books that I'm in the middle of writing, and not one of them is finished. If that doesn't scream inconsistency, I don't know what bloody does. And that also ties into the perfectionism, because I'm like, it has to be amazing. It has to be amazing. But you creating something, the first draft is never going to be amazing. That never happens. What musicians do you know that dropped their first single and it was a banger? How rare is that? And I don't mean the bangers that they debut with an actual, backing as an agent or recording studio or X bloody factor people. But I mean those people who were musicians and dropped a tune on Spotify or SoundCloud back in the day and it was a banger. That rarely happens. So I really do think I just have to have faith in my work and the things I want to do and just get them out there. I always tell people that, just get it out there. Just have the first thing done. Even with the podcast, I did an episode with the mental health foundation that I work with, and after that first one, it went rubbish. It was so rubbish. Like, I wasn't entirely confident in what I was doing. The person that I was interviewing tends to be a bit more of an introvert, and I just feel like the expectations weren't there, as in we hadn't discussed them enough. And on top of that, I actually didn't see her face as we were talking. So it was a real throw off to interview someone and not see their face. And it was not the greatest podcast episode or mini-sode. But after that was done, I was like, if I could do this once, I can do it again. And if it's my own, it's going to be even better. So just want to touch on connection, because that's part of why I'm doing a podcast as well. And I know I've just mentioned it, but just to reiterate, I feel like I thrive on connection because I feel, in general, misunderstood. And I felt misunderstood for so long when I was a young girl / teenager. And as I said, we're not going to dive into secure attachments. That will be a hot episode for another time. But I think it's relevant to why I'm starting a podcast now. Because I don't feel like for a long time, I wasn't entirely honest about my boundaries. I wasn't forthcoming with my genuine opinions. Like, yes, I'm opinionated and I'm stubborn, but I think really diving into why we feel the things we do, I don't think I was really transparent about them always, or in the moments that they counted the most. And now I want to be, with this podcast, with this space of mine that I've created for me, I deserve to be, just like anyone deserves to be in their own lives when there are boundaries being crossed or things that they want to do. I encourage you to be transparent with how you feel. I even think transparency breeds connection. Truly. Conflict breeds intimacy. But more on that later. So, what you can expect from this podcast. I mean, I said it in the trailer, but I'll say it again. This is a safe, open space for expansive conversations, open honesty, pursuing different bits of life. Here we're going to talk about family, relationships, mental health, self-confidence, pop culture, whatever I'd like to talk about or share the space with someone else to talk about. That's what's going to be on here. I can't tell you that there's going to be a niche. Maybe a niche will develop along the way, but this is most probably going to be a waffly style podcast for you to feel connected with, or to try to connect with. Listen to me when you're going to work in the car, or on your journey on the bus, or if you're going to college, wherever you are, whether you're cleaning at home. I do want to disclaim, I do swear. Trigger warnings for some of the things we might talk about, but I'll do them each episode as we go by. And also to say that I'm a 24-year-old woman. And there will be explicit conversations on here. I will always put in the description of the episode what they may be about. But please, if you're under 18, just be careful with what you're hearing, is what I'm trying to say. Because this is an explicit podcast, okay? I'm a grown-ass woman. Be mindful if you're under 18, what of the things I'm talking about. There we go. I hope this goes well. I pray I'm consistent. And yeah. So, also doing a half-year check-in. I want to talk about what's happened over the last 6 months, some holidays, significant events, training that I've done, as well as give you sort of an update with the nursing and my fitness, because I feel like they're quite relevant. So, over the last 6 months, I went from a really high to a really, really low to a real low. Couple of holidays with friends. I went on a couple of fantastic holidays with my partner. We went to Paris, Gran Canaria. There's a couple of holidays that I've been on with his family as well. Sort of caravan style holidays, but that have been lovely. I'm a real holiday person. I'm a real traveler. Like, I'm a fleer. So I really do enjoy holidays because they're my form of escapism and like living a different life. So that's why there's been a few of them. And if all goes well in the next 6 months, I'm going to try and go on another 2, I'm telling you. I'm also not the luxurious type holiday person. I'm the explorer. So my holidays don't really cost that much because I don't mind being somewhere a little low for the experiences, to pay for the experience after. Significant events. I'm even nervous to talk about this because there's one significant event that I would say half of my family don't know about yet, but fuck it. Like, we're here. This is my place. Yeah. I started the year being given a job. and it was as a fertility nurse in a fertility clinic. And then so that was January. And then by March, 2 months later, I was fired from said job. We'll talk about this in another episode, but it was significant, not because I got fired, but for what it taught me. And that I give so much and I expect so much. My expectations are always too high. And it's good to have high expectations, but I also think they're not realistic sometimes when I make them. And that experience, alongside my friends, discussions and reflecting over everything, because I am not perfect and there were things that I did wrong too, I realized that being fired from that job was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I stand by that. Like, yes, I'm a little more unstable. Yes, it's made finding another career path a little harder. It's always easier to go to another job when you've got a job. But that probably was the best thing that happened to me. I stand by that. The only reason some of my family members don't know about it is because it just creates worry. It creates an uncomfortable space. And I don't want them to worry about something that I'm not even worried about. So I paid for some training, which I finished at the beginning of the year, which is something called TEFL. I'm half Nigerian, half Italian. I don't speak Igbo, but I do speak Italian. And because my partner's Colombian, I speak Spanish too, and I learnt that. And I speak 3 languages, which is why I pursued the TEFL qualification, because 1, I needed some stimulation. I really needed something on the side. I was really bored, and coming from holidays and coming from the highs, I needed some stimulation. So I pursued that. It was fabulous. It also means that I'm qualified to teaching English to speakers of foreign languages. So I could go to any country right now and teach them English. Fabulous. Open the door. Telling you, always open your doors. And then at the moment, even though I kind of want to go down the content creator route, I do feel like it's always good to increase your skill set elsewhere. So I've started trying to go down into the tech and marketing world, and I started learning SQL, which is it's a database language. Yeah, a database language. Yo, let me tell you, all those people making fun of the IT techs, those that were studying software engineering, IT and computing in school, and then followed it through, and we made fun of them. Well, I didn't make fun of them, but you know what I mean? What's that going to do for you? And you're learning to make a game. I cannot tell you the headache that I've gone through learning fucking SQL. I can't tell you how hard, there's no words to express how hard I find it. It's nothing like maths. It's literally almost learning code style is the best way to describe it from someone who's not in that world. It is so fucking difficult. I lost my mind in the first couple of episodes, first couple of classroom sessions that I had with it, doing it online with Coursera, with Google. And since then, I was so upset from the last time that I did it that I kind of pushed it to the side, and I was like, I need a break from this headache because you're making me feel so incompetent right now. I'm not a dickhead, bruv. All right. But I will pick it up again because I do feel like, stimulating yourself and skills to have are always welcome here. But definitely was hard. Shout out to you, man, that can use SQL, data entry, C, JavaScript, HTML, all that good stuff, because the tech world is rough. I'm only going to touch upon the nursing again briefly, sort of as an update, because I've spoken about it so much, and also there's going to be a special episode on that with a special somebody. But yeah, nursing is not for me. Nursing is not for me. It doesn't fulfill me in the way that I thought it would. I pursued nursing because I wanted to help people. Again, touching upon home life. I felt quite helpless as a child and out of control for some of the things that were happening, that it really projected and manifested itself in me when I was about 16, 17, 18. And I was like, yeah, I want to be a nurse. I want to help people, especially after a significant event happened that we'll discuss in the second episode and made me go from, I don't want to be a doctor, I want to be a nurse. Going through all of that, I realized, thank you, Lord, that I never went to be a doctor, because it was not going to be for me. And all those years of learning was not it. Last of all, as life update, in terms of category, is fitness. Now, I've been very up and down with my fitness / body weight for a very, very long while. But I am pleased to say that this year has probably been the first year where I've been really consistent with my training and seen changes in my body and my mind that make all those days spent in the gym hating it so worthwhile. And I don't need to tell you about the scientific research that says, you can increase your happiness going to the gym and increase your longevity of life by working out, because we all know that. But it's beautiful to see in practice when you dedicate yourself to it for months and you see the positive outcomes from it. So yeah. In general in life though, I would love to tell you that I'm happy, entirely happy, but that would be a lie. And my ultimate goal in life is to be happy. Feeling a little anxious about the future, although what's the point of feeling anxious about something that hasn't happened yet? But that's so easy to say, or so hard to say sometimes, because you think to yourself, well, where am I going to be if I don't have money? And then you worry about making money. And if I don't have a job or a stable one at that, and I pursued all these years going into a career I thought I would love and I didn't. And the anxiety builds from that. I would say that I'm very up and down right now, especially because for me, the fertility nursing, which is the job where I decided, nursing's not for me anymore after that experience, was supposed to be a high for me. I was supposed to, in my head at least, I had thought to myself, I'm going to love this. I'm going to want to do this for so long, and I'm going to be here and I'm going to learn and I'm going to finally be happy as a nurse. And that was I got bollocked from that. So, it was just not a pleasant experience. From that, I really think it set my life in a completely different course to what I had predicted. Now, if the perfectionism didn't tell you, I'm a bit of a control freak. And so not being certain about where my life is going to go just breeds so much anxiety that I constantly live in the present when I shouldn't. I should be right here. That's what life is about. It's about being right here, living those moments. So even when I'm sad and even when I'm anxious, I do like to stew in them, because those are my boundaries. It's me telling me or giving myself messages of what I want and what I think I should be doing. And that's all you can do. So cheers to a new chapter, because I really want it to be. And that's our half-year check-in. So in 6 months' time, we can do it all again. Now, last segment that I've got for you is I really wanted to talk about my resolutions, just because we've done the half-year check-in, and sort of see where I've been hitting the goals that I set myself at the beginning of the year, even with all the ups and downs. Now, I don't take resolutions or the new year as a new year, new me. I think that's bullshit. I think you should always be improving yourself, but that year's gone. That chapter's been finished, done, kaput. You have to live for the here and now and for the future that you want, I think resolutions are good because you can set them up as goals. And I think a good piece of advice that someone gave me is to set up your resolutions by months. So for example, the TEFL was one of my resolutions at the beginning of the year to finish. And I put a month by that. So I didn't stress about hitting it every month. I just said to myself, by May, I want to have hit this. We're going to go through my resolutions one by one, but we're going to start with the ones I have achieved and finished with the ones that I still have to do. First on here was deleting social media for the whole month of January and February. That one, I can't lie to you, was very easy. It was really easy. I think I went onto social media, and it was probably Instagram maybe once or twice in the whole 2 months, just to check a message that someone might have sent me or something like that. And maybe that's technically a fail, but I'm not going to count it as a fail. So yeah. But I found it really, really peaceful not having to go on social media every single day. And I know having's the wrong word. You don't have to go on social media, but there's always this feeling of, I'm going to go on, see what people are doing, what's people doing in the world, blah, blah, blah. Absolutely no need. absolutely no need. You can just be on your own course, live your own life without seeing what millions of people, and that's a lie, isn't it? It's not millions of people. How many people do you actually, in one session of scrolling, how many people do you actually come across? You know, they say that 66% of the world is on the internet, but how many of that 66% do you actually see? It was really good for me to come off it, especially during the period of working in the fertility clinic, because to be honest with you, from the beginning I wasn't really happy in that job, and I needed to distance myself from people being really happy and successful. Not that that's a bad thing, but just being in my own stew of this is not working and I don't like this, because seeing that kind of content every day, and also success that is not necessarily in line with what I believe in anyway, because I think that's a really important point to make. There are people out there who are having kids. I know that's the first one because I don't want any, but people out there having kids, having so much money, achieved careers that they want that feel so out of reach sometimes. Like, this is such a stupid example, but the Kardashians, the way that they live is never going to be how I live. I don't even want that for me, but as a person, you'll get upset because you don't have that. And it's envy, not jealousy. It's envy because you want to be able to have that for yourself. But I had to take myself off social media because I thought half of the things I'm seeing are not even things that I want for me. Imagine that. Imagine getting upset about something you don't even necessarily want, but I guess what you want is their happiness. So anyway, best thing that I did. Second one was the TEFL training. Again, finished that by May. I now have the certificate. I can study and teach people wherever in the world I'd like. The third one, probably one of the most important, was that I really wanted to pay off all my debts. I say debts like I am deep in credit card debt and things like that. It's not like that. I just had my braces that I had to pay a lot of money for in a private clinic. My phone, that last year I had an iPhone XS just before we went to Colombia, my partner and I and his family. It broke, and because I needed a phone very quickly, I decided to do a trade-in with Apple and all that good stuff, and I ended up owing money. I had to do it month by month. I don't like month by month stuff. I like to just pay it outright. So I wanted by the end of May to have paid off all my debts, including some money that I did borrow from my partner to get a deposit on the teeth, that the braces that you can see, or I've got them on, in case you're just hearing. And by the end of May, I had done that. I wanted to pay off all my credit cards, as in, I do have credit cards, but I'm not in complete debt. I always pay them off by statement, but I just wanted them to be clear. I just wanted everything to be clear. Financial stability, y'all. Like, that's what we want. And to be honest with you, I've only completed 3 out of the 10 or 9 resolutions that I can see here. So let's go through the ones I haven't achieved one by one. I'm going to leave one of them for last because I'm still deciding whether it's appropriate to say on here. But yeah, learning BSL is one of the resolutions that I've had for the last couple of years. British Sign Language. For me, I find languages quite easy. I know that's because I grew up in a bilingual home. And with the added layer of me always wanting connection or finding connection, British Sign Language was just a natural resolution for me to choose because it meant connecting with other people who can't necessarily connect in general. I would still love to learn BSL. It's just taking a little bit longer than I thought it would. Next, I said to start a YouTube and have 5,000 followers by 2024. I feel a bit silly writing that one because the YouTube part is fine. But the 5,000 followers by 2024, I just think in this new strategy of content creation that I've taken on, I really am trying to avoid the numbers. That's not important. What's important is that you're connecting with people and they follow you for that and they want to see what you're doing because you've connected with them and you've invoked emotions in them. So we'll see about that one. But for me, as long as I'm working on my long video content and doing this, the numbers, the people, well, I hope will come. Then the next here I've got is finish writing ×1 book by the end of August. I am crossing my fingers, my toes, and my pubic hairs that will happen. And I really, as we've said, in terms of consistency, I want it to happen. But I'm nervous that that's not going to happen. I don't want to, by the way, I should say, I like to compete with myself. So I don't want this list incomplete, by the end of the year. Then I've got Save 10K by the end of December, which I am on my way there. I'm almost halfway there. And it's looking possible. We just have to grind, We're grinding. I've also got hit 70 kilos by the end of December, which, with all the fitness updates I just spoke on and realizing that movement really doesn't have to be attached to the scale, I feel a bit silly again writing that one, because the number's not what's important. What's important is that I feel strong, I feel healthy, I make good food decisions. I will talk about diet, fitness, and the body stuff in another episode. I just don't want to dive too deep into it today. But I feel silly having written that one. We'll see by the end of the year what that's saying, because I'll be honest with you, the resolutions are great when you plan them at the beginning of the year, but you change still over the course of the time. So I know that a few of these at the end of the year will look different to what they do now. For me, hitting 70 kilos isn't about the scale anymore. Maybe to me, it's about just being consistent, going to the gym, making sure that I'm working out, and have improved my eating habits. So we'll leave that one there. One of the fun ones I've got, probably the funnest one, is that I wanted to buy 20 dresses. I don't feel like I've given myself the space to be feminine sometimes. And maybe it's because I was a bit of a tomboy when I was younger. But as I've grown into my body and my womanhood, I've really wanted to express some more feminine energy and feminine style. And I avoided dresses for a long time because of how I looked. And that's wrong. That's so wrong. Like, that's so restricting. I don't even want to dive into that too much right now, but wear what you want. Wear what you fucking want. If it makes you feel good, that's just the most important part. I dressed for a body that didn't exist yet. I would say to myself, yeah, I'll wear this when I weigh this much, or I'll wear this when my thighs are smaller. What kind of shit is that? You cannot wear or build a wardrobe for a future person. You have to wear and build a wardrobe for who you are right now. I don't know what I was trying to do with that. So that promoted the 20 dresses resolution, because I really wanted this year to be a space where I felt so much more girly. I have now got 13 dresses. I'm well on my way. They vary in style, they vary in color, they vary in how they make me feel. Some make me feel sexy, some make me feel cute. You got your cottagecore, etc. And I think I'll get that one. I've put by the end of November. I think I'll hit that one. I just haven't hit it yet. But it's also because, buying a new wardrobe is next level cash money, because it's expensive, especially in Zara. I think I bought 2 dresses in Zara, 100 quid. I'm moving like I'm not employed. I'm moving like I'm not unemployed. I don't know who I am to be chopping money like that. Money I make, money I will find. But yeah, so it's expensive. Now, that being said, if you guys have got any resolutions, any quirky, crazy ones that you want to share, please let me know, because I'd love to hear them. And I am sending you blessings that you're going to hit all the resolutions that you set yourself at the beginning of the year. And yeah, now, thank you so much for listening. This is where I am going to cut myself off, because otherwise I'm a bit of a chat patty. We could be here for a while. Thank you so much for listening, if you are, and joining me in my first ever podcast. Episodes will drop once weekly, and we are going to be consistent. If that's the message I give with the podcast today, it's be consistent with whatever goals you are working towards. Follow my Instagram, which is Nkem Maria, November Kilo Echo Mike Alpha Romeo Igloo Alpha. Please don't judge me for spelling my name that way. No one can ever spell it. I will also have pages up for this podcast. If you're following on Instagram, it's DPP Podcast. Podcast is available on Spotify and Apple Listening. So whichever one you are on there, please go follow and listen along with me and this journey that I'm undertaking with this podcast. And then send in questions if you want. It's contact@dpppodcast.com. contact@dpppodcast. Any dilemmas, any questions that you have for me, any confessions, I would love to hear them. That's how I'm going to connect with you. So send them in. Everything will always be anonymous. No information will ever get leaked, because I know that's a really important thing for everyone, especially me. If I sent in something, I'd want to be anonymous personally as well. So have a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next one.